Beads of sweat dripped from his tightly clenched brow. He could taste every drop of the salty perspiration as it slid down his dry mustache hairs and settled within the creases of his lips. Pulling a worn handkerchief from his jacket pocket, he did his best to mitigate the sweat, but touching his tired skin reminded him of his new wrinkles, casualties of his new years. As he walked to the podium, he looked at the faces around him, sad, pitiful faces of sad, pitiful people. He almost felt sorry for them, and probably would have had it not been for his own pitifulness. He cleared his throat and haphazardly organized the stack of blank papers that had been conveniently left on the podium. Doing so looked less than natural, considering he had come up empty-handed and would leave empty-handed. None of that mattered, though, and truth be told, none of this mattered. It didn't take bravery for him to raise his sight and stare at the dozen or so rows peppered with a dozen or so faces. It took hopelessness. But that took vulnerability, which he had been known to struggle with. He stared at the poor, pitiful faces in front of him, each a beacon of its own unique depravity, each a representative of whatever destructive forces it takes to push a man to this podium, each a sad reflection of a tale as old as time. He cleared his throat and spoke. In my darkest hour, there was no romance. No great and powerful paradigm shift that caused reevaluation and growth. No, there was only darkness. It was no act of God, no divine judgment. It was only darkness. Not darkness with light peering its unseen head around the corner. No, pure, unbroken, unrelenting darkness. Light cannot exist without darkness, this is true. But darkness is not so codependent. Just as a lion feeds on wildebeest, misery feeds on happiness. But the day will come when you listen for the stamp of hooves and hear only silence. There will be nothing, and yet in that moment there will be everything. For now you stand face to face with the king of beasts itself. You stare into his dark and lifeless eyes and see nothing save for the primal instincts to hunt, catch, and kill. Staring into this beast's eyes, you will not concern yourself with questions of wildebeests. Because at this moment, the only thing that matters is the fact that across from you stands a hungry lion, one that is ready to devour you at any moment. I used to believe that happiness was nothing without sadness, that without the yin the yang would lose all purpose. I still believe this in some fashion, but I don't bother to concern myself with its implications. Because what good are philosophical implications if the only greater question I'm asking is whether or not I should eat a revolver or dinner tonight? If to be whole our emotions require their complementary half, then what good is being whole anyways? I'd rather live a life of meaningless bliss than one of righteous misery, we all would. You can try and convince yourself otherwise, but at the end of the day, we all know that life is bitter and pointless, and if you only know misery, then the bitter and pointless becomes the agonizing and unending. Don't try and fool yourself into believing you would choose virtue, because time and time again throughout all of human history, that has been proven demonstrably false. Virtue is sacrifice, sacrifice is pain, pain is pointless. Who cares what meaning there is in life if you don't even feel like living another day? The pain, the suffering, the virtue, all nothing more than fabricated images of honor sold to you by those who have none of it and profit because of it. Meaning is what caused an existential crisis in the young boy who hadn't planned his entire life out the moment after graduating high school. Meaning is what drove him to a comfortable job in sales for a regional stationery distributor. Meaning is how his boss tricked him into giving up his only 3 vacation days and coming in on the weekends for the good of the group. Meaning is what drove him to depths of despair so dark he saw no way out except for the drink. Meaning is what massacred all hope and left him to die. Meaning is what caused him to make that final and conclusive step. Meaning is what kicked the chair out from underneath him. Meaning is the 1/4-inch nylon rope that he had secured to the pole joint of his ceiling fan. Meaning is the weight loss from chronic stress causing the rope to fail and snapping his neck. Meaning is the feeling of his windpipe slowly collapsing as he flails and gasps for air. Meaning is the lack of regret. Meaning is the comfort he felt in the eyes of death. Meaning is the hue of blue his face had become within minutes after death. Meaning is the slow and uniform way his body swung gently from side to side with a soft creak after each oscillation. Meaning is the 19-day gap between his final breath and someone giving enough of a shit to notice he was gone. Meaning is his courthouse incineration. Meaning is the 38-year-old printer salesman's funeral that not a single person came to. Meaning is the K2 of existential triumphs. The majority of us who have tried to reach the summit died a quarter way up. Others made it halfway but turned back, fearful of what lay ahead. And those elite few who reached the summit and stepped where no man had stepped before, what wisdom do they impart? There's nothing really up there. Hell of a view though, I guess. The mystery allows us to construct our own ludicrous ideas of what lie at the top, but in the end, we all know it's just the top of another fucking mountain, just like any other. Exhausting to get to, underwhelming to reach, and dreadful to descend from. Imagine you had been kidnapped, thrown in the back of a van and tied to a wooden chair in a dark and gloomy warehouse. In front of you stands two men. One man stands inches from your face and screams as loud as he can. You can feel spit coat your already dripping wet face. He's demanding answers. And the other man? He stands motionless, brandishing a pair of pliers. The first man stops screaming in order to get an answer, but you, being the honorable man you think you are, stay silent. With your silence, the other man takes one of your fingers, the ring finger, and sets it between the jaws of his steel pliers. He begins applying force. You feel the bone bend and crack. The pain is unlike anything you've ever felt before. The man screams his question once again. The pliers slowly pulverize the bones of your fingers, the shards breaking into a million more pieces and slicing your skin like razor-sharp grains of sand. Do you tell them? Tell them what? It doesn't matter. Nothing matters here except for the fact that you are an unimaginable, unendurable amount of pain. So much pain that you wish for death, you fucking beg for it. The only thing that matters here is that now nothing is sacred. That in this moment there is only pain and darkness. That standing in front of you is a hungry lion, and all that's left to eat is whatever you have left lying in the brittle shell you call yourself. What matters here is that without action, the only thing that lies ahead of you is pain. Untold, unending pain. You are not a coward if you answer his question. You're not weak for being human. You're just like every other human being in the world. In the end, motivated by your own self-preservation and the avoidance of pain. We would all do the same thing. We would all save ourselves. We fill our days with pointless dribble and empty conversations to escape the fact that we're all going to die and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. We keep living in the manufactured hellscape of 21st century life for no other reason than it's what we're supposed to do. We wave and nod our heads, but we never speak to each other. I mean, truly speak. Not the hollow dialogue of feigned enthusiasm and lies we force out of ourselves. The doing well, how about yous, that come so naturally even though they're nothing more than a bald-faced lie. I can't remember the last time I was able to tell the truth and truly connect with someone on a level that isn't purely superficial. The last time I was able to hear the things that they wanted to say yet can't due to the social pressures and own self-consciousness. I want to hear those things, their fears, their dreams, their failures and passions, but I won't. Because we fear imperfection more than we fear being nothing more than a lie. a conjured image of togetherness masking the human demons we're all carrying. We fear the night, we fear the darkness, so we pretend the day never ends. I want to hear about the darkness, the descent that seems to perpetually decline, because to hear about it is to know that even though it may not seem that way, we're not alone. But now we are alone. For the first time as a species, we are separated and admitted into voluntary solitary confinement. We are the wardens of our own imprisonment. We are the darkness that the light cannot pervade. His hand lost all strength, and his grip on the pen withered. It fell from his fingers and hit the paper below with a splatter of dark black ink that slowly grew as it absorbed into the grain of the paper. He felt a tear roll off the tip of his nose and land in the amber liquid below him, making a ripple that bounced from edge to edge, seemingly forever. The old man removed his glasses in attempts to clear the fog, but doing so only further exaggerated the true and pitiful darkness of his cold and empty apartment.